Live presents You Be the Judge every Wednesday at 6 p.m. You can always listen to it anytime you find all of your podcast stations. Just put up Bridges Live and you will get to this recent station. Probably click on the date. Was it October 27th? Is that our date today? Wow. October has left us, came and left like that. It was rocket. October was a rocket.
The year has, because I remember at the beginning of the year it was like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad to see 2020 in the rearview mirror. And
here we
it
are in
seems like it wasn't that
2022.
long ago.
Yeah. So welcome to You Be the Judge. I'm Dr. Paul Dyer, one of the hosts, and my other two beautiful hosts is Marylin Pierre, soon to be Circuit Court Judge of Montgomery County, Maryland, and Judge Claudia Barber. I know Judge Claudia Barber is not with us as of yet, and maybe she will. She's always a busy woman. But Marylin, how was your week, and how you been since Wednesday?
My week went well. I've been doing some work actually, so and that has been going well. So thank goodness.
I know, I know this is not a campaign talk about Marylin Pierre running for Circuit Court Judge of Montgomery County, and please donate. We need your money.
We
But,
need your money.
but here's the thing: how has it been going thus far with the early part of the campaign? Are you pushing the name out there? Are people starting to recognize? How's it going for you?
I am pushing the name out there. People are recognizing me. Some events I go to, people say, "I voted for you. I'm glad to finally meet you."
How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel good because the ones who didn't vote for me, I don't think they tell me. So the ones who say that they voted for me, I really enjoy that. And
So,
and we're having some events like November 20th. We are going to walk in the Silver Spring Parade. We're inviting everybody to come walk with us. Yay! You might even earn yourself a free T-shirt if we have enough money to pay for the extra T-shirts because we are out.
so here's the thing, and like I said, I know this is you be the judge, and Maryland, you're going to be the next circuit court judge for Montgomery County, Maryland, and that's just something I not just hope for, pray for, but I think something that's just needed because we need representation of people who look like us. How about that? I think you are a good person.
Well, I'd rather have people who look like us and who have our best interest in mind. I really think we need both.
I think we need both, but I do think we need all three. Look like
Yes.
us, best interest in heart, but who also does a fair and impartial.
Mhm.
That's what a judge's
Yes.
supposed to be. Now,
Uh-huh. And if
why?
I had to choose between looking like us and not having our best interest in mind, or not looking like us and having our best interest in mind, I would choose the latter each and every time.
Yep. So why are you running for judge? I mean, what is your tenacity like? I not only deserve to be a judge, but need to be a judge. What's
Okay, so should I go through the whole spiel?
yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, okay. My name is Marylin Pierre, and I am a candidate for Montgomery County Circuit Court Judge. I have been practicing law for over 30 years. Yes, I know I look young, but it's true. I started in vigil, so that's what happened. I am a Leadership in Law Award winner and a three-time winner of Maryland's Top 100 Women, and I have won numerous community service awards because I really believe in community service. I got into law because I wanted to help my community, and that's exactly what I've been doing. I want to get into on the bench because I think that I could help my community more. Some of the problems that I see with the community is that I think that Maryland incarcerates too high of a percentage of its young Black males. According to the Justice Policy Institute, we are actually number one in incarcerating uh,
Yep.
uh, the highest percentage of our young Black males. And I think that that should change. The Justice Policy Institute says that the reason why Maryland incarcerates such a high percentage of its young Black males is because of the excessively high sentences that the judges give them. So this is something that you could only attack by being a judge. So that's why I am running to be a judge. And I also think that the community should choose the people it wants to see on the bench. You shouldn't get on the bench because so and so and you went to school with so and so and the other ways that a lot of people get on the bench.
Now let's, because this is leading up to an issue. So, what are the ways to become a judge? So, give us that understanding. There's voted in and there's appointed.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. The overwhelming number of people on the bench have been appointed. In Maryland, there are four levels of courts, and only on the second level of the court system, the circuit court, can you be appointed, and you have to run in a race where you might find somebody who contests your appointment. In the district court, which is the lowest level, you get appointed and all these appointments are made by the governor. And
Okay.
right now we have a Republican governor, and even to tell you the truth, even when we had a Democratic governor 8 years ago, things didn't really change that much because it's the same group of people who are still making the recommendations to the governors. On the district court, you get appointed for 10 years. And unless something really bad happens, like, prostitute in your chambers kind of bad, which has actually happened, or there are questions about your mental health, which has actually happened, then yeah, something really bad has to happen for you not to be reappointed, no matter what party the new governor is from. Uh, and the Court of Appeals and on the in the Court of Special Appeals, which are the third and fourth level of judges in the state of Maryland, you only get appointed and then you run for election, but you only run for retainment, so nobody could run against you.
Okay.
And in those cases, they say that these people usually get about 88% of the vote, and none of them have ever lost an election against themselves.
That would
So
be
the
hard to
circuit
do.
court, yeah, it is exactly. The circuit court is really the only level where the public can make a difference, because in the circuit court, the public can say, I don't like the choices that have been made for me. I want to make my own choice. And that's why I'm running, because I want to give
The
the
people.
public the ability to make a choice. And that brings us to one of the things we need to discuss today, which is Judge Davenport,
But what?
because she runs.
But before I get there, and you have set me up. Well, I wanted you to talk about yourself. But before we get there, how can a judge be removed from judgeship?
Well, as I stated before, if somebody runs against a judge on the circuit court level and the person gets more votes than that judge, then
No,
then that judge gets removed.
I mean, like prior,
Or
like during their tenure, whatever. Like,
okay.
how can a judge be yanked from the bench? What are the possible ways?
Well, the possible ways is that there is a commission on judicial disabilities
Okay.
that if there are allegations against judges,
Okay.
the Commission on Judicial Disabilities can investigate these allegations, and depending on the finding, they could ask for the judge to leave. The last judge who actually left in Maryland didn't even go in front of the commission. I don't know if you know what happened to the circuit court judge in North Carolina.
No.
Not North Carolina, I'm sorry, in Caroline County. Yeah, in Caroline County, Maryland. Uh, he was at a fishing lodge, I think they said, with some young boys. And according to what I've read, it seems like it's something that he did on a regular basis. And it is said that one of the boys noticed a camera in the bathroom. So he contacted his parents, who then notified the authorities, who then went to the fishing lodge and questioned the judge. And after questioning the judge, they said that the judge asked to excuse himself, and then he went to the bedroom, and they followed him in the bedroom. They said that they saw him swallow something. So then they asked him to do an X-ray. And during the X-ray, it seemed like he swallowed. It's not a hard drive. What do you call those things?
USB, a USB drive.
Yeah, no, that was smaller. Well, something of that sort. Something that could record or save information.
Probably an
I'm saying something
SD,
that.
An SD card.
SD card.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So that's what happened, and there was some more investigation, and after that, I think the FBI called him and said that they were going to come and arrest him. And after he heard that, he just killed himself. So that just happened a couple of weeks ago, yeah, in Caroline County. We don't know why this is not getting, more play. Erica, do you know why this is not getting more play? You have your hand raised.
Well, hello everybody. What I was gonna say is that I myself had to file a complaint on a judge in Maryland.
Okay.
And in my case, in my family law case, he pretty much the other side had threatened to commit suicide, threatened to kill himself in front of his child's mother's home. And I went there, we went for custody. And this judge then asked him on the stand, did you get rid of the guns? Okay. He was a white guy. He's white, I'm black, right? The judge is white. He also then removed him from my custody and gave him to him, put in the custody order, put in the custody order that if he makes statements or does anything to harm himself or others, that I can come back for modification.
Wow.
Now, this judge, then so many other things. I went through the Judicial for Commissions for Disability.
Uh-huh.
He was getting ready to go to trial. We were going to have a court date.
Mm-hmm.
They let him get away by going out on disability for retirement.
Yes. They are very, very.
So let's be clear.
Yes.
Let's be clear. He has done this, and I'm still dealing with the issues, the dropout. And as a parent, I can't even get a modification because it has to be a material change in circumstances. When I went back to fight, because he did threaten to, he said he was having suicidal ideations. We had proof of that. You already know how it goes. We went through every little thing. I took every bit of my savings, every dime I saved for. I have spent over $60,000 from 2016 to now. And we finally got it switched around over in Virginia.
Oh, good.
But hold on, they appealed it. I don't have any more money, so I couldn't afford another attorney. So I lost. So now we're back to the same thing. But it all goes back to one judge in Maryland who clearly was prejudiced, and because once he retired, they said their hands are tied. They can't do any more, going forward with holding him accountable. But yet these families are still suffering and still have to deal with the issue. There is emotional situation going on right now because of his decision to do what he did in my family. So I truly, it's a big issue of mine. To this day, right now, I'm still documenting and fighting for my son, for the issues that the person who had suicidal ideations, had mental health, issues, is imposing on the kid in an emotional, harmful way. It's horrible. But I say that to say, I went to the commission, and I lie to you not, the attorney there, she spoke to me. She said, Erica, I am so sorry. She said, and because we had a date, we had it set, everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, but I realized as this person, nothing can change in the case. Although he had misconduct, and they jotted it down, investigated, had all the evidence and everything, the families still are left with those rulings. Nothing changes unless you spend half of your savings. And then what could you offer the child after you give it all up to the court system? So yeah, I know firsthand, and I'm still fighting for it, and I will continue to fight for it, especially for other families. Absolutely.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Erica. And this still goes back to what we're going to. Are you going to cue us up there, Marylin, about this judge? You're going to play the video of the Young Turks one, of the news report.
Oh, yes, I will, but I want to address Erica for a
Please
moment.
go ahead.
You know, Erica, what you're saying is so powerful, and oh my gosh, I can't even imagine living with that sort of trauma, wondering, what if, and you are in my prayers, and I hope that something like that doesn't happen. I cannot for the life of me understand how, when there's suicidal ideation on the record, that a judge can say, hey, you minor child, go live with this person. Was there any explanation about that? Oh, you on mute.
From him, from
Yes.
this show. Well, his name was Getsky. I'm sure everyone knows who he is. That was the famous one. There is record as to why he said it. I think he basically just felt like he was being picked on. You know, when you bring facts that may seem a little harsh toward the other party for whatever reason he felt that he was being picked on, but there were facts. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it even got down to the point where he asked my attorney to say 3 good things about this gentleman. Wow. So it was 3 good things, and I'm telling you, that's why I said
your attorney to say 3 good things about the other side.
Yes.
Wow.
It's a
and the opposite story. Didn't happen where mm-hmm. they asked his attorney to say 3 good things about you.
Oh no. Oh no.
Wow. So I'm just so sorry.
But I thought the commission was onto something, but as you go through the issues, the trial and error, the issues you learn, and I've learned that board is there, and I can appreciate the board for that. But I think it needs to be extensive, because you can't cut things off and then leave people in limbo like that, because they're still suffering or still enduring those orders and verdicts that are handed down. They can't be changed.
Who controls that board, Marylin?
The judges. So basically they are, I mean, there's some public members on there, but they're the ones who make the decisions about whether or not the judges should be held accountable. And of course, I'm imagining that when they're making those decisions, they said to themselves, what if it were me? How would I want these other judges to look at it? And there have been some atrocious decisions in Maryland, because you have the one where I think it was in Oprah. It was so horrendous. Oprah Winfrey discussed it in one of her shows, but in that one, I think the father said that he was going to cause some harm to the mother. And she asked for a protective order. The protective order was not given, and so therefore, he then threw gasoline on her and lit a match. Yeah. And then there was once, I think the child's name was Romeo or Prince, or either Prince or Romeo, where everybody testified that this guy should not be alone with the child. And this was a Montgomery County case. And the judge allowed the child to have unsupervised visits with the father. And on the second visit with him, the child died from a blunt force object. And he was tried for that. And I can't remember how many years he got as a result of that. But this is a child who has died. And we also had the Montgomery County one with the children who died in Baltimore in the hotel, the one where I believe the father was a traveling. It had something to do with the circus, but these things happen a lot, and of course you can't say, well, I know what's going to happen, blah blah. And it's always easy to look at it with 20/20 vision in hindsight, but some of the things that happen, I think, have to do with the judges not really listening to people and just wanting to make whatever decisions that they want to make, because
but our issue is no one holds them accountable, and then the people that are supposed to hold them accountable, they're not even held accountable for even bad decisions. So
that's true too, and I agree with that. And maybe now that we know, this is something that we should we should discuss, because and try to see what changes we could make to it. Because I agree, the people who are in charge of whether or not these people face consequences shouldn't be a bunch of judges who, like I said, might be looking at themselves saying, hey, if I were in that position, I'd want somebody to give me a second chance, because many times they don't give other people a second chance. And just like Erica says, her child's not going to have a second chance because he's still living with somebody who is having the mental health issues that this person is having. And I see Mitham's hand is up.
Hold on, Mitham. Before you play, I just want to get into this judge down in Tennessee. So let's show that first. Just hold your comment, Mitham. Write it down. Go ahead, Marylin. Set up the video.
Okay.
And for those of you listening on the podcast, we're about to set up down here in Middle Tennessee, down here in Tennessee, and how she's imprisoning these young children. And you're going to listen to this right now. Go ahead.
Okay, ready?
A new report by ProPublica finds that the juvenile court judge in Rutherford County, Tennessee, seems to get a kick out of imprisoning children for crimes that don't even exist, and also for things like truancy and swearing. So this judge, Judge Donna Scott Davenport, actually also broke the law herself several times in the way she conducts her own job. In fact, in 1998, Judge Donna Scott Davenport became a juvenile court referee akin to a judge. The following year, Rutherford County violated federal law 191 times by keeping kids locked up too long. So not only is she imprisoning children for nonsensical reasons, she's also keeping them in these juvenile detention centers, which are basically prisons for kids, longer than she's allowed to under Tennessee state law. Now, here's an instance from 2016 that actually did grab national attention, but unfortunately not enough attention to ensure that she's no longer a judge. So 3 police officers went to Hobgood Elementary School in Tennessee and arrested 4 Black girls. One girl fell to her knees, another threw up. Police handcuffed the youngest, an 8-year-old, with pigtails. Their supposed crime? Watching some boys fight and not stopping them. So in that case, police ended up arresting 11 kids in total, using a charge called criminal responsibility. The district attorney for Rutherford County confirmed to the police investigators that there's no such crime as criminal responsibility. So luckily that case later was settled for almost $400,000. But keep in mind, there were innocent children sent to a juvenile detention center, arrested, handcuffed, and sent to a juvenile detention center for failing to stop 2 boys from fighting. Insane, absolutely insane. But the story gets crazier, Jake.
Yeah, so this story is just horrific in 18 different ways. And even some of the cops that were arresting the kids started crying because they're like, why are we doing this? And it was a couple of Black cops who one of them just actively said, we should not be arresting these kids. And the white cop basically steamrolled him and said, no, and he put the kids in handcuffs. But it's thousands of cases like this. So you're gonna be shocked to find out they mainly did the poor Black kids, okay? But they did it to poor white kids too. But Black kids more disproportionately. But this one white kid, he's got bipolar disorder. They put him in there, and then they put him in solitary confinement.
Oh my God.
And then afterwards, his medication stops working. It's not even like, then he had suicidal thoughts before. He tried to take his own life a couple of times afterwards. Solitary confinement is torture. The lowest level solitary confinement they had for these kids was 12 hours a day. And at level 8, it was indefinite solitary confinement. And they would even board up the windows so they couldn't see the other kids. And this is disgusting what they're doing to people. And I've told you guys this a lot of times. When we were kids, we used to fight all the time. I grew up in New Jersey. It was a fairly regular occurrence, right? If the kids who fought were arrested, we'd all of our lives would have been ruined. We all would have had criminal records. God knows what would happen to us in juvenile detention. But now they're arresting the kids who are watching the fight. One of the girls was trying to stop the fight. They arrested her anyway. One of the girls wasn't anywhere near the fight. They arrested her anyway.
It is not their responsibility to intervene and stop the fight. It is not. They're kids. They're freaking kids. They're kids, period. But this woman, this judge, is an advocate for detaining kids for the most insane, nonsensical reason. For something as simple as cursing. She literally has a basket full of belts in the courtroom. So if someone shows up in her courtroom without wearing a belt to keep their pants up, she forces them to wear a belt. Insane, psychopath. This woman failed the bar 4 times for a good reason, clearly. She is not fit to be a judge. In fact, why don't we learn a little more about Judge Davenport? Let's give you a little taste of who she is. Watch this video.
I mean, being detained at our facility is not a picnic at all. It's not supposed to be. It's a consequence for an action. I've locked up one 7-year-old in 13 years, and that was a heartbreak. But 8 and 9-year-olds and older are very common now.
She also, as I mentioned earlier, failed the bar 4 times. There's more details on that in this next clip.
When did you first take the bar?
I waited to 87, I believe, a year after I registered in Kentucky.
And then, I guess, didn't pass that. Were there any other attempts in between that?
Yes.
How many times did you take the bar?
I passed on the 5th time.
She passed on the 5th time, 9 years after she graduated from law school. And by the way, she locks up more kids than any other county in Tennessee. Let me give you the details on that. Under Davenport, Rutherford County locked up a staggering 48% of children whose cases were referred to juvenile court. The statewide average is just 5%. Take a look at this visual that compares Rutherford County to all the other counties in Tennessee. And you see that giant, number, 48%, compared to much smaller numbers in other counties. And by law, by the way, children held for such minor acts as truancy were to appear before a judge within 24 hours and be released no more than a day after that. I'm sorry, no one should be imprisoned for truancy. No one, okay?
Insane.
I'm sorry, especially now, when the economic situation is so dire for so many parents. You got 2 parents busting their butts, sometimes one parent busting his or her butt, working nonstop in several different jobs, part-time jobs, just to make ends meet. Sometimes kids end up being truant as a result of that. Parents have no support. To then lock kids up for truancy is ridiculous. But let me give you more of what's been going on. So the newspaper interviewed Davenport, who estimated half of those violations occurred because a kid had cursed her or someone else. For cursing, she said, she typically sentenced kids to 2 to 10 days in jail.
Okay, hold on. Now, this is really important. Now, I don't care that she failed the bar, but she poses as someone who's high and mighty. She has a radio show that she does every week where she brags about how many kids she locks up, okay?
It's disgusting.
And because she's such an important, judicial figure in this county. But wait a minute, you're not allowed by law to lock up kids for truancy past 24 hours. She does it for sometimes up to 10 days, as Anna just told you. Why? Because they disrespected her and cussed at her.
Yeah, in fact, she said
that's illegal. But that's illegal. No, you can't pretend to be a great judge while bragging about things that are illegal. So
she brags about breaking the law. In fact, in response to that, she said, was I in violation? Heck yes. But am I going to allow a child to cuss anyone out? Heck no. Where are the free speech activists? Where are the lovers of American freedom? Is this freedom? Is this freedom? I want to know. Is this the land of the free? Locking up kids for cursing? Really? That's the land of the free.
And guys,
and of course, there's a financial motive involved, which I'll get to.
Yeah, so you can say, hey, look, we want good decorum in court. No problem, okay? And there's different ways that you can enforce that. 10 days in prison for a child when it is against the law. How about we imprison you for breaking the law? Oh, no, I get it. The law is only for poor people and for little kids that you can take your vengeance out on. I don't know what her psychological issues are, but she loves locking up those kids. But if you said to her, how about we lock you up for breaking the law? Which you brazenly admitted, right? You'd be like, oh, how dare you? I'm an important judicial figure in this county. She says she's the mother of the county. What kind of a sick mom would do this to her? He said, it's 10 times the rate of the rest of Tennessee. It's not like we're talking about a super progressive place. And so, of course, there's a financial issue here. But speaking of belts, one of the officers, one of the guards at this horrific detention center used a belt on one of the kids.
Yep.
And this judge highly recommended her.
Yep.
So, but she's the moral one. She's the moral one.
So, final part of this, I want to talk a little bit about the detention center itself, because there are some interesting details there. So, first off, she has decided to participate in this like cheery and also incredibly disgusting advertisement for the detention center. She refers to it as state of the art, like bragging about it. Let's take a look at that.
Built in 2008, the Rutherford County Juvenile Detention Center is a 43,094 square foot facility that is located in the heart of Tennessee. Just minutes from Interstate 24 in Murfreesboro, the center is easily accessible with plenty of lodging and restaurant choices to choose from. Location check. Facility check. Employees check. Programs check. With all this going for us, there's no question why we have contracts for the detention of juvenile detainees.
Oh, wow. Wow. So my kid can get imprisoned for cursing or for truancy. And if they happen to end up in this juvenile detention center, there's unlimited restaurant options in the area. What the hell was that?
That was a literal ad for Rutherford County. We'll lock your kids up. And guess what? They get paid for it. So that's why they do it.
The county gets $175 a day for each kid they jail.
When she first started, the budget for juvenile detention in that county was a little under $1 million. It's now $3.69 million because they keep arresting more and more kids. 48% of the kids that go in front of her, she's like, lock them up, $175 a day. Hey, all of Tennessee, we'll arrest all your kids. White, black, poor, it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. You can't be rich because the rich are moral. The judges are moral. But your poor kids, they're immoral. The kids, as they're arresting them, there's stories, they're vomiting all over the floor. They're so scared they don't know what to do with it.
They're elementary school kids.
She bragged, you saw it on the table about arresting 8 or 9-year-olds. Have you ever had an 8 or 9-year-old? Arresting them for watching a fight? I mean, I told you the members in one of the bonus episodes about the Buford fight. The whole junior high school wants me to fight Buford, right? They would have to lock up the entire junior high school. She would have probably loved it. She's like, look at that money. And she would have gone and bragged about it on the radio. I locked up the whole junior high. We made so much money that day, right? And so as the stories of the kids, though, was so heartbreaking. They're handcuffing the kids. People are screaming, don't handcuff them, don't handcuff them. The principal's weeping. Some of the cops are weeping. The kids are absolutely hysterical.
Why is she not fired? Why is she not fired?
She works today.
She needs to go, period. Okay? I mean, the case that we're talking about was in 2016. It grabbed national headlines. Why is she employed as a judge making these decisions? And by the way, when we're talking about juvenile courts, we're not talking about the type of situation you'd run into with a jury. She gets to make the decisions unilaterally.
She said, I should be paid 12 times as much because I act as the jury too. She gets like $176,000 a year for locking those kids up. That's her salary. She's up for re-election And if she wins, she's going to get another 8 years. By that time, she might lock all your kids up in Tennessee.
She keeps getting reelected because she's unopposed. No one's running against her, right? In fact, there was one situation where someone did run against her, and then it turned out that that person was abusing children. And then after that, she didn't have to worry about, running for reelection because no one ran against her.
I'm just going to say one last thing here. Look, we're trying to protect the kids of Tennessee. Do you care about your kids or don't you care about your kids? And so these people that come in and pretend to be the most moral, now some of the best people I've ever met are religious people, Christians, Muslims, Jews, etc., that don't go around bragging about it. They just go do amazing work and they don't tell anybody. And the community knows them, the folks that they're helping knows them. But the worst people I've ever met are the ones that are going around moralizing in public. They're bragging to everybody about how moral they are. They are the most immoral people almost every time. And here she is, bragging every day, every week on the radio. I lock 8 and 9-year-olds up. I lock them all up, and I get paid for it. It's disgusting. She's one of the least moral people I have ever heard about. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. I really appreciate it. Another way to show support.
There is so much to digest about that.
Wow.
But
It sure is.
here's the thing I want to really get on people's mind, and Marylin said this before. If we don't do what we can do, but then I think about, as I was listening to this, I'm thinking of Erica and what she just talked about. So what? Who stops them? No one. The governor can stop. So now we almost have to look at the governor saying he actually sanctions this. He actually is okay with this. He actually, you actually have to say the father of the state, the parent of the state saying, yeah, I know my child's doing this and I'm okay with it. And you can't do anything about it.
They're complicit. They're complicit. So, I'll say it.
Well, it's making them money and it's not really hurting them because, like they said, they're not arresting.
I think that perhaps there is something we can do. I think, number one, we should be writing our United States Attorney General, Merrick Garland, and sharing that video clip to him so that the FBI or at the federal level, some type of prosecution can be considered to address these illegal arrests of minor children, of juveniles.
But Judge Barber, now we have to think or believe or really close our eyes and really hope that really the Attorney General doesn't know this is going on. I find that's hard to believe. You mean, and the Department of Justice doesn't know this is going on? I know there's something like 100, is there like 1,000 people in the Department of Justice?
We need to put this as objecting in a fierce way, just like there were objections to George Floyd's killing as excessive force.
Right.
Okay. To move this and then the needle in that direction, that this is excessive and it's illegal and it's in violation of people's civil rights. They have a civil rights unit, they have an FBI, and they have other investigatory agencies and an arsenal of laws that they can bring against this judge for doing what she's doing. They cannot be above the law, and there should be some action on our part. I mean, because we can't sit back and say, well, they may know something, that's why I'm not going to write a letter.
Okay.
No, I'm writing a letter. I'm going on the record.
Gotcha.
I don't agree with this at all. I don't believe that she should be a judge, period. And now let me get on this other point here about how judges are elected and why she's allowed to be on the bench for as long as she is.
Please.
It's because we're not paying attention, and we're not doing our job to get her off the bench. And the one person, you see how that one person that did try to run against her, some negative story apparently popped up and likely threw that person off out of the running. But I mean, the fact that she thinks she is so entitled and so privileged at this point to still file a certificate of candidacy and run again after the whole history of what she's done already and not feel no consequences behind, well, that's the problem.
Okay.
And the second problem is the fact that voters are putting her back in office.
But so, Judge, hold on, Mitchum, I'm going to get to you right, and then we get to Teresa. For a person, because I did find her radio show, I did listen to it. The question I have, because it put me back in my seat, for her to be so explicit and to file and run again, who does she know that's saying it's okay for you to run carte blanche without any think about getting in trouble, and to be so outwardly spoken saying, yes, I broke the law. Yes, I in jail kids for 10 days for truancy. Who cares? Who can stop me? Because I must have an angel or someone who's protecting her for some reason. She knows where some bodies are buried. Something
no different than ex-president Donald Trump. No different. He was not impeached. After he was impeached, the Senate did not convict him. You know, and even
right. twice
impeached twice. It's no different.
No different.
And the fact that you have GOP supporters who are today going around trying to whitewash January 6th and minimize it as nothing happened and people's lives were lost. That's the same. It's no different.
So, so basically, what we're saying is that the white population of Tennessee really are saying they don't mind,
and it's okay.
And they're okay with it.
Not their kids.
As long as it's not their kids. Mitchell, go ahead.
I do want to address that. Sorry, Mitham, I know you've been waiting. But even if they're not their kids, they also don't see that this is a financial burden to them because they had to pay in a lawsuit for what this woman did.
But they must
they're
be
not even looking at it that way.
They must be
even if the moral argument is not enough of an argument,
right?
There's still a financial argument, and they still
right. But see, this also goes to the fact that the legislators are at fault too.
Also,
you ought to have a law in place that you lose your pension.
Exactly. And why didn't the governor recall her? The governor could have recalled her and said, hey, there could have been all kinds of ways to get rid of her.
Look, I'm recalling you. If that's allowed under the law, and if there is no law, then the legislators should have made sure that a law was put in place to prevent this.
So they're allowing it. To me, they're just allowing
it. I agree. Sorry, Mitham, go ahead.
No problem. Thank you very much.
No problem. I just wanted to do one suggestion and one comment, if I may. So this is really horrific, okay, to my personal opinion, and I think everybody will agree on that. But this is happening for too long. Only thing is happening is that it's been because of the technological advancement, we can able to see this with the video, like George Floyd things are not happening. Absolutely, 8 minutes, 47 seconds or whatever the time it was happening in the United States for a long time. Just because we have the mobile phone right now, we could able to see it, witnessed it. And this is happening in Montgomery County, forget even about state of Maryland, okay? And I myself can tell you, and Miss Marylin knows very well, I have judges who've been assigned in the case, took the case, and when the defense attorney's principal is his cousin, and he doesn't even provide me a disclosure that, hey, this is my cousin's case. And they ruled over, and they are still sitting judges. And one of them is also collected money from the defense attorney's law firm and ruled in favor and suppressed a criminal evidence, which is perjury. And they wanted to let me tell the judge that they perjured, the witness committed a perjury. And this corruption is there. And also, I personally believe that these lawmakers are also involved or if not directly or indirectly, whatever be, they're letting this happen. There is no recourse. I myself has filed several complaints to the Judicial Disability Commission, and they didn't even do anything. They did nothing. And now I am target of these judges. I even filed federal lawsuit against these judges for corruption, and that lawsuit got dismissed because of judicial immunity. And they are telling that go file an appeal. What about corruption? Judges are collecting money, and their cousin is ruling over in favor of a case. See, it's illegal. You being a cousin, you cannot rule over. And I will request this panel and the wonderful people here to start something from Montgomery County itself, pointing out from the county as well as other places too. And lawmakers are not even involved. You know why? Because I contacted my senator, but when he put the George Floyd video in his Twitter account, I wanted to show my video for 10 minutes or 15 minutes appointment. He has not given that to me. I just wanted to show him assault of an officer in my house.
Mittam,
Thank you.
we're going to move on. Teresa, please.
Yes, thank you. Everybody's given such good points to this. I was just wondering, first of all, we could not have gotten to this day without things being like this forever. This deck has always been stacked. And so when I'm looking at this, I'm asking, what about the Children's Defense Fund? What is their role in all of this? I mean, when I'm thinking about even the name of Children's Defense, what does that entail, and where is their scope? Where do they? I mean, I thought they represented children all over the country. I'm just wondering why they're not involved when you're talking about defending children, because race soldiers have no ages. They were raping 5-year-old children just as recently as the 1950s. So I'm just wondering, first of all, if anybody can tell me what the Children's Defense Fund really does. I could look it up, but we're on this podcast, so I would like to ask one of you. But and also, the fact that this is going to continue, this has been going on, it's built in this system that they built after slavery. And so this is where it is. So how do you deal with this situation? Because when you hear the last person talk about the cousins, you don't know who's related to who in this system. I live in Prince George's County. And even though Prince George's County has changed and it's a lot of Black people in there, the people who have the permanent jobs are white. They don't change. But you have, and this predominantly Black. I've gone to pay my property taxes where nobody in the office is Black. And I think one could have been mixed race, and one lady had her hold up in the corner reprimanding her for something. So what I'm saying is they have this thing so sewed up, till I just don't know how we're going to fight it.
Well, I'm glad you said what you said, because we have again got to identify and address the root of the problem. And part of the problem is the policies. A large part of this is the policies and the fact that people are able to get by with what they're able to get by. The laws that allow bad judges to stay in office is the problem. That's one of the problems right there. It is hard to get rid of bad judges. And that's part of the problem. Now, let's take, for example, federal lifetime appointed judges. They don't need lifetime appointments. No, they don't. Because all that stuff goes to their head, and all they're doing is just serving a lifetime appointment and don't care. They don't care about litigants. Oftentimes they are in that office and they could care less about how they rule and handle cases. Some of them do. I don't want to lump everybody in that same category, but we have a problem with that. There should be a concern with among the citizenry about giving people lifetime appointments. especially at the federal level. You have civil rights legislation, and for the longest period of time, the federal courts was just flooded with people who don't care about civil rights. And they would just toss out Title VII cases here, there, and everywhere. And the same thing is good. Let me bring this on home without taking a whole lot of time. You have got to pay attention to who's running for judge. And I say that in the strongest sense that I can. Those positions matter. And people should not be fixated on voting for people who are just sitting judges, rubber stamping everything that they do. Because some of those people are the worst people that should be on the bench. They're sitting up there giving light sentences to police officers who have participated in excessive force cases and so on. So you should not be in a situation where you should be looking at judges and just saying, yeah, oh, I got this little card, and that card said, in the mail, it looks like he's a nice person. I should vote for that person. Beware, beware, beware. Thank you.
Erica?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, to sum it up, because Judge Barber hit it right on the nose. The question is, how can we change the policy? What can we do where these judicial commissions can't just stop once they retire, go out on disability? Because the reality is they need to be held accountable. Where can we start to make that change within the legislature? I want to know. Please let me know. I will join you.
One of the things, this is Teresa, I'm sorry, but what Judge Barber said, when we look at a ballot, the judges are not in the beginning of the ballot. They're usually at the end before they have the initiatives. And so, they put more priority on who's running for, let's say, on the state level, governor and lieutenant governor. And then you get the judges as though they're an aside. So I think one of the things that needs to be done is we need to have a campaign where we give judgeships more visibility, more a place. I don't know how we can do that, but I think that's what needs to be done, so they don't look like they're not important from where they're placed.
So Teresa, I'll give you my geekiness of myself. I do a lot. One, I'm a geek. But secondly, I care about what is being put out there for the people, because when this backfires like this and judges in other states slip under the radar. Now, I know about their governor in Tennessee, and I know why she is still on the bench. I tell you that. You can look at both of those, and they make a perfect sandwich. So if you ever have any questions about who, just ask, and I'll get back to you. Or do the research yourself, but I always do it anyway.
Well, but when we're looking at TV commercials, we don't see judges.
No.
We just see governors. That was what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
For the average person who, the airwaves, they own the airwaves. This is what they're getting. Yeah. So that was what I was saying.
Okay.
Also, they don't publish metrics of judges. How many times they've incarcerated somebody for a period of time. You will only find that if a news reporter did an investigative series or did some type of investigative reporting on a specific judge to get that record. They don't make that record easily accessible to the public, and they should. They should have a situation where that this particular judge did this. And the disproportionate or disparity that the judge has in his record of sentencing, that information should be readily available.
Unless the judge has their own radio show and they're bragging about it. That's how you also know. It's a sad case, because I listened to Erica and how she stated what she was saying. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, Kathy. I see your hand. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, I was just curious. Do they have a record of how judges incarcerate different individuals by race?
That information can be found. However, it would take an inordinate amount of time to, number one, identify every
Case.
single case
Mhm.
that the judge
So,
ruled on in a specific time period, and then trace it down to find the race of the individual. Because there's a generic Maryland Judiciary case search. If you plug somebody's name in there, that you would get presto the outcome of the case and the disposition of the case. But that Maryland Judiciary case search doesn't break it down according to race. And previously, the Maryland Judiciary case search did not break it down according to what judge was assigned the case either. So, you know, that information, like I said, is not readily available, so that voters and citizens, you know, have to find that information out on their own or rely on some other resource that has broken down the statistics as such. You know, they do keep statistics of police stops, but they don't necessarily make this information readily available for judges and how they incarcerate people.
How about by county? Like,
Kathy,
uh-huh.
I did say earlier that the Justice Policy Institute has some research that they did, and that's why they are saying that Maryland incarcerates a higher percentage of its young Black males than any other state in the country. I could send you the link to that. And there's like a child something. I could also send you a report. I could send you a copy of that. I could also send you
the Justice Policy Institute. I read a lot. I dig into that one a lot because they break it down the matrix pretty good, and then you can go from there. I really do.
Love that.
And so, do they break it down by county in Maryland? Do we know which counties incarcerate more Blacks than other counties in Maryland?
No, they didn't do that, but
Okay.
I think the ACLU of Maryland might have some information on that.
Okay.
I'm glad you mentioned the rovingroom.com, Marylin, Pierre, because it is an important source. However, you will be shocked to know that many of the federal judges in that roving room have bad marks. They have D's and F's, and the bottom line is the attitude is that they don't care.
Yeah.
Because they're lifetime appointments. So who cares? You know, you can't remove me. I'm invincible. You know, unless I've done something seriously horrible. You know, you can't remove me. That's their attitude.
I was living in the Midwest for a long time, and there was this guy. He had owned several bars, actually 5 bars, and he had literally been reported of having 10 DWI stops and having his license removed. Now his lifetime license removed, and he still drove around town. People still saw him in a car because he never went to jail. He never went to jail. He never did any time for none of his drunken stops. He owned the 5 bars in town, and he never went to jail. So if you're never going to be punished, who cares if I have a license? Who cares if I get stopped? There's nothing going to happen to me, and I can still live my life. I can still drink and drive whenever I want to, and I'm okay with that.
Now, if you're a litigant and you've had an experience with a judge, you can comment on the rovingroom.com. There's a spot for you to insert your entry about what you think about your experience with that judge. That is a matter of public record. So that you know, there is some you know, and all judges may not like it because they feel that the person that lost is going to give them a bad rating. But you know, you have to balance that out because some good judges have been caught up into that type of situation. But you really have to study and know and understand these judges, you know, that you're putting into 15-year appointments at the circuit court level. Everybody should let that register settle in, you know, and this is the way, you know, you can be instrumental and part of change, because if you're not voting, then you're not a part of change, you know, but if you are voting and you are looking at the record and you are looking at the history of the individual, you can get a better clue as to who you're putting on the bench. But you may not necessarily, again, know everything about that person.
But know
And
something.
a lot of times they keep low profiles, just so you won't find out how they really think. And then all of a sudden you won't know until you start seeing them incarcerate a whole bunch of juveniles in a disproportionate manner. Then you figure out that this person was wrong.
Like, it wasn't until I did all the research that I found out that Marylin might have a yacht at Chesapeake Bay that she hasn't mentioned yet.
Okay, I know we're joking, but I really wanted to address something that you said and something that was said in the video that we played as well.
Yeah.
The people who come into the system, that's also an issue, because we have the state's attorney's race in Montgomery County, and it's a really interesting race, because for the past 2 election cycles, our state's attorney has not had an opponent either in the primary or in the general, but this time he has 3 opponents. I think that's a really interesting race, because the judges only get the cases that are in front of them. So we have to back up a little bit and say, why is it that some cases come in and some cases don't? Because Dr. Dyer, that example that you just gave, the states, if everybody knew that this guy was driving around without a license, well, so did the police officers, so did the state's attorney. Why didn't this case come in? Whereas somebody else who might be, driving around, gets stopped for a book and tail light, because how many times have we heard that?
Right.
And then, okay, you don't have a license, and so, we're going to stop you and give you a citation for book and tail light, and then it goes from there. So I really think that educating ourselves and empowering ourselves so that when we go to the polls, we know what to do. And also after the polls, after these people get voted in, don't let them, do whatever they want to. Hold them accountable as well. Say that, hey, this is what you said you were going to do. This is why I got up and stood in line if I needed to vote for you, and now you backing out. So I have the power to put you in. I have the power to take you out as well. And that's what we have to do.
In Maryland, I really believe that people should not buy the Judicial Nominating Commission process in total. There have been some good ones that have snuck by and have become judges using that system. But over and all, it has zero credibility. I find that it's all political, and it's all about who they want, and they practice exclusion. Those are my what I've observed from my own naked eye.
Yeah,
And
that's
how you run into situations where you have somebody where you have no Hispanics on the bench ever, no Asian Americans on the bench ever.
We're going to continue to talk about this situation. You can join us every Wednesday that You Be the Judge here on the podcast. Thank you, everyone, listening, and enjoy your week.
It's a phony process.
Well, there's a lot more work to be done. Comfort wanted to say something.
Yeah.
So does Holly. You can go next, Holly. Sorry.
I know. I just want to second, what you stated in the beginning, that not